Hi, everyone, and welcome to another live stream from the London School of English. And today we will be talking about how to write effective business business emails in English. You will learn useful expressions that will help you to write your emails with confidence. And we cover a whole range of different topics. Today we have with us two of my colleagues, Alex Wayne, our expert English language trainer, who has been teaching business English to international professionals in our schools in London and online since the year 2000. And I know that Alex has been teaching English since 1994. So that's a very long time.
Don't
Alex
it.
has a background in economics and diplomacy. And I'm sure you will learn a lot from him about the language and business communication. Hi, Alex, and welcome to the live stream.
Hi, thank you very much for that introduction, Olga. Thank you. It's very nice to be here.
Yeah, very good to have you here. And we also have our Director of Sales and Marketing, Joe Burns, who has a wealth of experience with business communication in the UK and internationally. And Joe has a lot of useful advice to give regarding business emails and how to choose the right tone. So, hi, Joe.
Hi, nice to see you all.
So we'll be taking your questions throughout the live stream, and we'll answer them at the Q&A session at the end. So please do write them in the live chat next to the video. And before we start, I wanted to mention that we finally reopened our center in London, and now you can improve your English, including speaking and writing skills, both in our face-to-face classes and with our trainers in virtual groups online. So be sure to check our website at londonschool.com to know more. So now, as we have a lot of material to cover about email writing, let's dive right in. Alex, over to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Olga. Thank you, Joe. Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name's Alex, and I'm going to be talking to you today about writing effective emails in a business English context. I think before you write anything, take a moment to consider who you're writing to. What's your relationship with them? Are they a colleague, a boss, or a client? How well do you know them? How long have you known them for? Do they work with you in your company, or do they work in another company? What sector do they work in? Some sectors have a more informal culture than others. For example, banking and finance tends to be more formal than IT. Thinking about these questions will help you to write an email which sounds natural and which has the right level of formality. In other words, it's not too formal and not too informal. But generally speaking, emails tend to be informal, especially if you write to someone on a regular basis, or they're a colleague, or they work in a sector which has an informal corporate culture. Perhaps if you're writing to someone for the first time and you don't really know them, or you're applying for a job, or you're writing some sort of legal text, you may need to be more formal. If possible, use the other person's email as a guide. For example, if they sign at the end with just their first name, then you should use just their first name in the greeting. I'll talk about this again later on. Also, try to be as clear as possible. Keep your sentences short and simple. Remember, KISS, keep it short and simple. This will make your email easier to read. Writing an effective email is not just about the writing. Someone has to read it. And so when you're writing, think about the reader. Okay, now before we start, I have a challenge for you. So this is an email to someone you know at work. It could be your colleague or your line manager, for example. Your line manager is the person who is responsible for you. Generally speaking, this type of email would be quite informal. But let's have a look at this email. It doesn't sound very natural, does it? Or look very professional. Hiya, John. I have been in lengthy discussions with members of the team, and it has come to our attention that the budget report is incomplete. I would appreciate if you could complete the report with the necessary details and send it back to the team. If you have any further questions, do not hesitate to contact me. Peace, Alex. Okay, so can you make some improvements to this email so that it sounds more natural, more professional? And I'll show you a better version at the end of this London School of English live stream. So now I'm going to take you through the different stages of a business email. So let's start at the very beginning. And lots of people are tuning in. So hi, Mike Petrov from Russia and Juliana Toledo and quite a few other people there. That's great that you're joining us. So yeah, let's start at the very beginning, the subject line. Okay, always put something in the subject line, but keep it clear and keep it to the point. It should highlight the main message of the email, because this will grab the reader's attention and provide a focus for them. An email without a subject may be ignored. An example of a good subject line would be staff meeting agenda, 10th of September. Nice and clear, to the point. The subject line can also be used instead of writing the main body of the email. Yeah, that's right. In some cases, it may not be necessary to write an email if you can say everything in the subject line. This is especially true if you're giving very brief information, which perhaps doesn't need a reply. So look at this, for example. I'm not in the office tomorrow. Please call John with any urgent issues. EOM. Okay, so what does EOM mean? Well, it means end of message. It means I haven't written the main body of the email. It means the reader doesn't have to open the email because everything is in the subject line. Great. It means they don't have to reply. Brilliant. It means everybody saves time. It's more effective. But just make sure that the people you work with know what it stands for. Also, don't forget, if an email is urgent, there is usually the option to select high importance. Now, this is usually symbolized with a red exclamation. It then appears in the subject line. Okay, let's move on. Let's move on to greetings. Now, the more formal way of starting emails is to use dear plus the surname. So, dear Mr. Smith. Or if you know the woman is married, dear Mrs. Smith. If you don't know whether the woman is married, it's always best to write dear Ms. Smith. That's MS. Yeah. If you don't know the name of the person, you can write dear Sir, Madam. Now, watch the spelling here. It's not Madame, as in French. It doesn't have an E at the end. It's Madam. Okay, so just be careful with the spelling there. You could also write dear plus the first name, so dear Alex. Now, this is less formal. You probably know the person. You've probably had some previous correspondence with them, or they work in a sector which has an informal corporate culture. Okay, more informal ways of starting an email include hello or hi, John. Hello or hi, just without the name. Or simply just John. So just the name of the person without hello or hi, just John. Sometimes we don't even use a greeting. This is more common when we're writing several emails to the same person in a short space of time, like a spoken conversation. A greeting is probably best for the first email, but after that, we don't need to keep writing a greeting. And it saves time too. So again, it's more effective. Okay, what do you say if you're writing to many people? So for example, all the people in your department. Well, you can use dear all, which is more formal. Or you could say hi all, or hi everyone, which is more informal. Right, how about a friendly opening at the beginning of an email? Yeah, I think in a more informal email where you know the person quite well or you've had some previous correspondence, I think it's nice to start with a friendly opening, like, hope you're well. Or how are you? Or I hope you had a nice holiday. Yeah, or I hope everything is going well. Notice when using the word hope, you can leave out I. So you can say, I hope you're well, or hope you're well. Leaving out the I makes the email a little bit more informal. Okay, so why don't we go back to our original email and let's see, do we notice or can we notice anything that could be changed perhaps so far? Yeah, perhaps we'll have another look at this email a little bit later on, and we'll have a look at a much better version of this email. Okay, let's move on. We may need to mention previous contact at the beginning of an email. Perhaps it was a phone call, a meeting, or a previous email. So you could say things like, it was lovely meeting you yesterday. Or it was nice speaking to you on the phone last week or earlier. Thanks, or thank you for your email. Or thank you for your inquiry. Now that last one is a bit more formal. An inquiry is basically a request for information. How about apologizing? Yes, sometimes we may have to apologize if, for example, there's been a delay in your reply. In more formal emails, we might say, I apologize. I'm sorry for the delay in replying to your email. If there's a good reason, you could mention it. So I apologize. I'm sorry for the delay in replying to your email, but I wanted to make sure the figures were correct. So some kind of reason, if it's a good reason. If there isn't a good reason, well, don't say anything. Just apologize. Just keep it simple. In more informal emails, you could say, sorry it's taken me so long to get back to you. Okay, let's move on to the reason for writing. Sometimes we may need to explain why we're writing the email. I think this is probably more common in more formal emails. So you could use phrases like, I'm writing in connection with the job advertisement. I'm writing regarding. I'm writing with regard to. Again, here to is a preposition, so we should use a noun. So I'm writing with regard to the job advertisement. Or I'm writing to. Now here, to is an infinitive, so we should use a verb here. So for example, I'm writing to apply for the job I saw in The Guardian on the 8th of September. Something like that. Or as discussed, I'm sending you. For example, as discussed, I'm sending you the contract, which will need to be signed and dated. Okay, I think in more informal emails, it's probably enough just to briefly describe the situation and ask a question. And we'll see an example of this later on in the live stream. Right. Let's move on and just say a quick word about attachments. We often have to attach documents and files to our emails, and I think it's best to indicate this by writing, please find attached. For example, please find attached my invoice for July. This is more formal. Or I've attached, or I'm attaching my invoice for July. That's a little bit more informal. Great. Some good comments here in the comment section. Okay, dear Miss Smith. Yes, how about mom instead of madam? I'm not sure, but we'll talk about that later on. Okay, let's move on to making requests. I think that's the next section. Yes, making requests. Yes, in some emails, you will need to make it clear what you want or expect from the reader. So I think these phrases can help. Again, we can divide these phrases into more formal and more informal. So the more formal phrases are, I would appreciate it if you could, or I would be grateful if you could. For example, I would be grateful if you could send me your contact details as soon as you can. The more informal phrases include, would you be able to? Now, would you be able to is perhaps more indirect, perhaps better for bigger, more important or difficult tasks. So, for example, would you be able to write a short job description and send it back to me as soon as you can? That's quite a big ask. That's quite a big thing to do. It could be quite difficult. So would you be able to is maybe better here. It's more indirect. Whereas could you, or can you, or please could you, or please can you. You can also put please at the end. I think that's better for smaller tasks, easier tasks, because it's a little bit more direct. So, for example, could you send me the link when you have a moment? It's just a quick thing to do. It's not particularly difficult, so could you is fine here. If you want to add some urgency to your request, you could introduce a deadline. Could you please send me the report by Friday with at the latest, if you want to make it sound even more urgent. Or I would appreciate it if you could send me the report by Friday. That's a bit more formal. Okay. Well, how would you reply to a request? I think you could use the following phrases when replying to a request. They are, I think, a bit more common in formal emails. So if you're able to carry out the request, you could say, as requested, I have attached the document with the details. If you're not able to carry out the request, it's possible. If you're not able to carry out the request, you would have to say, perhaps, unfortunately, or I'm afraid, I don't have the information you requested at the moment. I think in this case, try and give some reassurance that you might be able to fulfill the request at some point in the future. So, for example, as soon as we have an update, I will let you know. So it could sound something like, unfortunately, I don't have the information you requested at the moment. As soon as we have an update, I will let you know. Something like that would sound very nice, very professional. Right, let's briefly move on to making arrangements. Okay. We often need to make arrangements in an email, such as meetings, appointments, video conferences. So, for example, you could say, I was wondering if you were available next week, or I was wondering if you would be available next week. Would Tuesday suit you? Would Tuesday work for you? Would Tuesday be suitable? I'm afraid I'm not available on Tuesday, or I'm afraid I'm not free on Tuesday. Would Wednesday work? So they're just a few examples of how we can make arrangements. Okay. Now let's move on. As we approach the end of the email, it's, I think, nice to offer the reader some kind of further communication or further contact. In a more formal email, we might say, please do not hesitate to contact us with any further queries. Now, a query is basically a question, but it's just a more formal word. Usually you have a query about something, so contact us if you have any queries about the contract, for example. Yeah. You can also answer a query, so we are always available to answer your queries. It's a good word to know, especially in business emails. You could say, if you need or require any further information, please do not hesitate to contact me. That's another nice one for formal emails. I look forward to hearing from you, or I look forward to seeing you next week. I look forward to meeting you soon. Look forward to is a very, very useful expression to know. To is a preposition and must be followed by a verb in the gerund form, ing. So I look forward to meeting you tomorrow, not I look forward to meet you tomorrow. But it can also be followed by a noun. So I look forward to our meeting tomorrow. So here it's a noun. In more informal emails, we might say, let me know if you have any questions. Or let me know if you need anything else. Or perhaps just get in touch if you have any questions or if you need anything else. Okay. So we've talked about approaching the end of the email. What do we do at the end of the email? We sign off. Now, again, this depends on who you're writing to. The more formal expressions are best or kind regards. Best or kind regards. These expressions are very common in emails. In fact, they're so common, they can be used in formal, but also less formal, neutral situations. With people you know well, I think you can use best, or thanks, or all the best, or even best wishes. But of course, always write your name afterwards. But just like greetings, as I mentioned before, sometimes you don't need a sign-off. Like I said before, sometimes you don't need a greeting. So this is true in more informal circumstances, especially when writing several emails to the same person in a short space of time. And as I've said before, this can save you time. Yeah, it's all about saving time. So that is useful to know, I think. Yours sincerely and yours faithfully. No, don't bother with those. They're very uncommon in emails. Why? Because they're too formal. They do occasionally appear, especially in newsletters or where the email is quite impersonal. In other words, the company or organization sending out the email, they don't know you, but they know your name. Have a look at this. I recently got an email from my bank, Barclays Bank, and it looked like this. Dear Mr. Wayne, your statement is now available to view online. Yours sincerely, your Barclays team. So yeah, in that situation, you might see yours sincerely, but usually no. Usually they are very uncommon in emails. Okay, as I've said before, with greetings and signing off, it's always a good idea to look at what the other person has written and use that as a guide to how formal your email should sound. I recently wrote an email to someone I didn't know personally. I knew their name and I wanted to ask them a question and introduce myself. So I wrote, Dear Mr. Jones, just as an example, Dear Mr. Jones, and I signed my name Alex Wayne. I signed off Alex Wayne. He replied then with Dear Alex Wayne to copy my sign off. And then he signed off with just his first name, Peter, for example. So then I copied him. I then replied with Dear Peter, and I finished with Alex. And he then replied with Dear Alex. So he copied me. And so it continued. So the style actually changed. The style changed from quite formal to quite informal. And so that's an example of how people sometimes look at each other's emails as a guide. Right, so that's it. You finish the email and you can click send, yes? No, don't click send. Don't click send as soon as you've finished. I know sometimes we don't have a lot of time, but if you can, proofread or check your email. Check it for any grammar or spelling mistakes. After all, you want to create a good impression, you want to sound professional. Now, if you have spell check, use it. If you don't, then check the spelling of words you're not sure about in a dictionary or online. Try not to misspell the recipient's name. If you want to establish a good business relationship, make sure you have the right spelling of the person you're writing to. So, yeah, for example, John. John can be spelled Jon or John. Joe can be spelled Jo, which is usually the female form, or Joe, which is usually the male form. Also, be aware that there are some differences between British and American English spelling. So if you see the word favor spelled F-A-V-O-R, that's American English for favor spelled F-A-V-O-U-R. Okay, in British English. Okay, make sure you have at least some punctuation. For example, capital letters, full stops, question marks, commas. Perhaps after you finish writing the email, you could read it aloud. And this will help you to decide where you might need some extra punctuation, or indeed remove punctuation which shouldn't be there. How about contractions? Should we use contractions in business emails? Yes, you can use contractions. I think even in more formal emails. As I said at the beginning, write for the reader. Using contractions may sound more natural for the reader when they're reading your email. Okay, there are some exceptions, a legal text, an academic text, or if you're applying for a job, that email may have fewer contractions. But in most emails I've sent or received, there is actually usually a mix. Sometimes contractions are used and sometimes they're not. I'm going to show you an email which I received recently from someone who works at the Royal Albert Hall in London, and it's fairly formal because we don't know each other. But I'm not sure if we can see the email. But they contracted I am, because I'm sorry sounds more natural than I am sorry. So the email basically said, I'm sorry I cannot assist further at this stage. Please do not hesitate to contact us with any further queries. So yes, I'm sorry, I cannot assist further at this stage. I'm sorry sounds more natural than I am sorry, but I cannot is not contracted because it sounds more natural with assist, which is quite a formal word. Please do not hesitate to contact us with any further queries. Well, do not is not contracted because it sounds more natural in this formal sentence. And I know time is running short, but maybe just a quick word about abbreviations. Abbreviations can obviously save time when writing emails, so they can be very effective, but just make sure that your reader understands them. Just because you're familiar with an abbreviation doesn't mean your reader is. Okay, there are some abbreviations which are very common and part of everyday written communication, like PM or AM, but others are also common, but perhaps better in more informal emails, such as EG, for example, or BTW, by the way, FYI, for your information, or regarding. But have you heard of these? COB, close of business. Have you heard of IMO, in my opinion? Or what about NRN? No reply necessary. Okay, maybe you've heard of these, maybe you haven't. My advice would be avoid these abbreviations unless you know the reader will understand them. Of course, you can never be 100% sure that someone will understand an abbreviation. Even I've come across abbreviations in emails which I didn't understand and had to Google. So that's it. That's the end of my talk. These are the most important email functions. A typical business email probably won't contain all of these functions, so don't worry about including everything we've talked about here. But a typical email will probably contain at least 2 or 3 of these functions. Keep it short and simple. Less is more. If you have a really complex issue to talk about, a really complicated issue to talk about, it may actually be easier to pick up the phone and talk to someone. Yes. It's a very large area. We could talk about a few other things, but we've almost run out of time. I think we may just have enough time to go back to our original email and have a look at a much better email. So let's have a look at the much improved email. Yes, first of all, we have a subject line, whereas the original one didn't. So additional details needed for budget, I think, is quite adequate here. We've got the right spelling. John, I think John should be spelled Jon here, not John, as in the original email. I think probably, actually, even before you say, I've been talking or chatting to the team, you could actually have a friendly opening. Hi, John. Hello, John. Dear John. Hope you're well. I've been chatting to the team, and we've realized that the budget report is incomplete. I think that sounds a bit more natural than I have been in lengthy discussions. Please, could you, or would you be able to complete the report? Again, sounds more natural than I would appreciate it if you could complete the report. So would you be able to complete the report with the necessary details and send it back to the team? So I think here it's good to have everything in one sentence. The original email had it in 2 sentences. And I think that last sentence, and send it back to the team, that's not really a proper sentence. So it's better to have it all in one nice sentence. And then finally, let me know if you need anything else. Again, in this situation, sounds much more natural than if you have any further questions, do not hesitate to contact me. And yeah, not peace. Peace sounds like you're not taking the person seriously. So I think thanks or best is best. Best is best, Alex. Okay, so that's it. And I think now I'll hand you back to Olga and Joe.
Thank you very much, Alex, for this wonderful and very useful live stream for anybody who is interested in writing business emails in English effectively. And it was very good to see so many people joining us for the live stream and having questions and comments, but also even talking to kind of each other and helping each other out a little bit. So for example, we've got a recent comment. So a user Go On is already saying that to be honest and COB and all of these other abbreviations that you've mentioned are completely new to him. And then Kwaku Pia is saying that actually TBH is this to be honest. So that's great to see kind of our talking to each other as well.
Good.
And we've got Marcello mentioning, great job, Alex. So clear. Thank you very much for this. So
great. Thanks, Marcello.
That's great to see all of these comments and questions. There have been several questions throughout the live stream. So we'll try to answer as many of them as possible. So one of the questions is from Adriana Martinez, who I know is joining us for, actually this is not the first live stream that Adriana is joining, so it's really great to see people coming back.
Okay.
So can I write, please extend the deadline?
So she's asking, can I write, please extend the deadline?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I could not have enough time to complete the report. Oh, I see. Yeah, perhaps here a request like, would you be able to extend the deadline? It sounds, yeah, a bit more indirect than please extend the deadline. Would you be able to extend the deadline?
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you, Alex. And then there's another question related to the section in which you mentioned signing off emails. So many thanks. How's that for signing off an email?
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Many thanks. Yes, I do it myself. Yes. Great. Good. A good way to sign off. Many thanks. That's absolutely fine. Yeah, I do it myself.
Yeah. Joe, how about you? I can see that you're nodding, so you probably have seen this many times or using this in the emails as well.
It's just a nice positive way to round off an email, isn't it? So anything that people would like to say at the end, which is best wishes, best regards, simply best, many thanks. Some of them Alex already covered. I think just a positive sign off is always nice.
Yeah. And we've got another question earlier in the live stream about using ma'am instead of madam when greeting in the email. What do you think?
I'm not sure about that. I think I mentioned it during my talk. No, not ma'am. I think ma'am is too formal. And isn't it actually a way to address the Queen?
Yes, that's just what I was going to say. We say ma'am is the Queen.
So
of course, you are writing to the Queen, in which case, go ahead. We assume, but if you're writing to the Queen, yes, that's correct.
Right.
For all of these special occasions.
Exactly.
And got a question from Juliana Toledo. Is that okay to, should we use a short form for writing an email? I'm writing, I guess maybe here it's probably, is it possible to contract and just say I'm writing? Juliana, maybe if you give more details about that.
Yes, I think so. Yes, when you're giving the reason for writing, I think you could possibly contract that. Yes, I'm writing to apply for the job advertisement. Yes, I think that could be contracted. It sounds quite natural for me to say I'm writing. So yes, I think that could be contracted. Do you agree, Joe? Do you think?
Yes, it's fine. It's absolutely fine.
Yeah. I think it sounds quite natural, so that's fine.
I would say, in response to Mihaela's comment, what about you instead of how about you? What about you is, I think, in some ways less polite. It's just a tiny detail. I think how about you sounds a lot more polite than what about you. You might say what about you to somebody in an informal situation, but how about you is the safe option. Would you agree, Alex?
Yeah, I think so, yes. This is probably in an informal email when you reply to how are you? So you say, I'm fine, how about you? I think that's the situation, isn't it? Yeah, I'm fine, how about you? Yes, I think how about you is it sounds more natural and more polite in this case.
Great. And one of the questions that I wanted to ask is actually, Alex, you've already mentioned some of this, and Joe, I know that you have a lot of useful tips on how to find the right tone and how to be more diplomatic and polite in the written form. Can you share some of those tips with us here?
Sure, happy to. I think there are some really basic things that, well, some people may think they're basic and other people may not consider them, which is why I share them. So first things first, don't write in capitals. I did receive an email with a whole sentence written in capitals from somebody. And I said, why are you shouting at me? And she said, where I come from, it was, you know, we do this all the time to show that something is important. I said, I understand, but English people in business will understand that as yelling, shouting. So if you want to shout, fine. But assuming you don't want to shout, don't write in capitals. I would say it's generally good advice as well to be more diplomatic in writing than you might feel you naturally would be. So cut down on your use of imperatives. So by this, I mean, rather than saying, send me this, which you can imply in a tone of voice in quite a friendly way. Oh, Alex, send me that thing you were looking at. Sounds fine. When I'm speaking to Alex, send me that report on this. That looked great. If I put that in an email, Alex, send me that report. He might read it in that tone of voice. So, Alex, I'd be interested to see, would you mind sending, and using the gerund again, as Alex explained earlier. I think those softening tone is quite important, because you know what you mean, but somebody just reading the words can't hear what you meant. So, and so much of language is about music and about dance. And so it's important that your tone comes across in the way you intend it. And if you're in doubt, read it out loud. Or if it's, as Alex mentioned, sorry, if it is something sensitive, and sometimes I would also say when you have two non-native speakers with different native languages, I would recommend picking up the phone and having a discussion and then emailing afterwards, saying to somebody, I'll follow up with an email so we know where we are. If there's the time, or if it's possible, that can be quite a useful way of going about things, I would say.
Yeah, that's great advice. Thanks a lot, Joe. And I think you've kind of mentioned some of the problems that people might have, particularly if they come from different cultures and interact with people from, for example, somebody who comes from a more direct culture versus somebody who comes from more indirect culture. So lots of challenges. But Alex and Joe, in your experience, what would you say are kind of the most prevalent problems in business writing for clients who come and join our training, and how do we help them to overcome those problems?
I think, I've at the London School of English, I teach one-to-one courses, and quite often I have clients who we look at their emails, and we go through their emails and work out where we can make improvements. Perhaps it's the tone, perhaps it's the vocabulary, the grammar, and how to express yourself appropriately in an email. Yes, not sounding too direct, for example, as Joe mentioned, and softening our language. I think that's important. Yes, and using the right degree of formality.
I think people say, well, I know I can only speak from personal experience. I have to write emails in different languages myself. So to put myself in the English language learner's shoes, if you like, at the moment, I'm writing quite a lot of emails in Portuguese. I don't speak Portuguese. I speak other languages. I don't speak Portuguese, but I'm writing a lot of emails in Portuguese at the moment. And one of the challenges I have, that I imagine our clients have, is, does this person want a response really fast, or do they want it to be correct and perfect in terms of Portuguese writing? So, this is one of the challenges that I face. I would like to send them something that looks perfect, but I know sometimes they need a decision or they need an answer. So in which case, there's two things I do that you might find useful. The first is I have an Excel spreadsheet with lots of frequently used phrases that I can just paste into my emails. So I know I cheat. You're all learning the right way round. I'm cheating, but still. So I have my Excel spreadsheet with useful phrases so I don't have to type it out all over again. That's the first thing. And the second thing is I also put in a note saying, I'm sorry, my Portuguese isn't great, but I wanted to come back to you quickly. So, just sometimes people will understand that it's not going to be perfect, and just say so. I'm sure whatever you're doing, they appreciate the effort. Hey, Tanya. So yes, and go on says yes. In America, they do say "mum." It's just we're teaching English. So.
And actually, Joe, there was a comment from Go On earlier. I'm just trying to find, because it's so fitting to what you just said, that actually when we asked what you find the most challenging in writing emails in English, the answer was just the time that it takes to write the emails, and also sending them. You send them on time. Yeah, so that's a challenge for quite a few people, I guess. So unfortunately, we need to wrap up. This is such a big topic, so we can talk more about this. And what we can say is that we actually do have several other live streams lined up. So next week on Thursday, we will have how to be polite in business English. So just as a continuation of the topic and what we've been talking about here today. And then in 2 weeks' time, we would also have a live stream for human resources professionals who need to use their English for work. So if you are in human resources, or you know somebody who is, then don't hesitate and send them the link. But what I would like to say is, of course, thank you very much, Alex and Joe, for sharing your advice and tips and your experience. And of course, thank you very much for to everyone who joined the live stream for all of your comments, which we can see coming up now. So we hope to see you again.
Thank you.
Have a great morning, evening, day, night, wherever you are joining us from. And keep learning English. Bye-bye.
Great. Bye. Bye-bye.